And welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. It is the most wonderful time of the year. You may think it's the dead season, folks, of the NFL calendar. No, absolutely not. Why? It's LISTCAST season. It's back, baby. The L is back. It's good again. It's not just for hats. It's for us here on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. It's LISTCAST. If you don't know what LISTCAST is, stay tuned. It is us doing top 10 podcast radio, sports radio brought to you in podcast format. It's annoying as it sounds, but it's also fantastic. It is us being self-indulgent. It's everything we want to do in the middle of June on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. As always, I am your adequate host, Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter. Very charged up about this. Finally, I don't have to think about rosters right now. I don't have to think about guys who are pecking at the third or fourth spot on a depth chart. I get to think about hot takes and idiocy. Whereas, however, the man who is my eternal partner here, by law,
Did we get married?
I think we did. Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online, who likes the season, but also I think is the complete opposite of me. We're getting away from what he likes best, which is like rosters and names and little camp battles, and he's getting into my territory. He's the beat writer. I'm the sports radio guy.
Yes and no, because there is part of me that's like, I don't love top 10 lists because I think sometimes it makes us have petty arguments, but at the same time, I am so glad to have just a moment to catch my breath a little bit because of the crazy offseason the Lions had. Now we can goof off for a couple weeks, and I'm totally fine with that.
We do have some Lions talk coming before we get into our list cast. And I will say, though, Jeremy, it is annoying, but it's not as annoying as GOAT talk.
Yeah, true.
Which Madden coming out today with like a video of goats. It's like, oh Christ, here we go again. Again, Jordan has poisoned everything. And now let's go live to our GOAT expert, the big man himself, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Ryan, who is the GOAT of the NFL?
I don't know why, but you said I was the GOAT expert, and the thing that I immediately jumped to was Robert De Niro asking Ben Stiller,
The men who stare at goats? I forgot about that movie.
No. I was thinking, I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? And I know it was about a cat, but...
Whoa!
You just got goat nipples on the mind, that's all.
Listen, we just... Wow, so we just started... I was going to say, we just started the Scraps. This is Scraps Talk, but it's live on the PODcast.
This is what happens when there's no news. Scraps become the main course.
They're no longer side dishes.
Thank you. Yeah, today is all side dishes. It's all egg rolls and crab rangoons and...
Not mozzarella sticks.
And short ribs. No mozzarella sticks, no. But no, we're at a Chinese buffet, Jeremy. Not
crab legs, baby.
Yeah. Crab rangoons, things of that nature. So, by the way, thank you all who have given good feedback on the Scraps. It seems to be a hit. Those will continue. Although, again, we're already off the rails on this one. Jeremy, though, before we begin... No, I like being off the rails. You know that. Before we begin our list cast in about, 8 minutes or so, I do want to talk a little bit. Jeremy, you streamed it last night, the new episode of Inside the Den.
Yeah.
Which shows you where we're going to find Lions news right now.
Well,
we were doing camp, we were doing mini camp, we were doing OTAs, and then we ground to a halt. And suddenly Jeremy's like, "Ooh, the new episode of Inside the Den is out."
Well, listen, Inside the Den is an impressive series. It always has been.
It's fine.
It gave us. I mean, back in the day, it was our version of Hard Knocks, and sure, it's the corporate media version where we're getting all the positive stuff. But this is what we've been asking for a really long time, and what's kind of become the new. The new exciting things for team media departments, and that's behind-the-scenes draft footage. And I love behind-the-scenes draft footage. It's amazing. I said it last night. One of my favorite things that I wish, if I could pick out a story to do, it would be spend a weekend in a war room, because that has to be just a fascinating thing that we're not normally privy to. And the Lions released their version of that. The Colts had a good version. There were other teams that did it well. The Panthers had a good one, I believe. But this is the most inside access we've ever gotten inside the Lions war room, and it was fun. I mean, we've spent all offseason talking about how fun Dan Campbell was, but he was even more fun. Like, even with people not necessarily watching, he's doing little jigs when they're drafting Jamar Jefferson. He's telling the camera, or he's watching the TV, and he's going, stay, Ifatu Melifanu, stay. And I don't know, it's fun to see him be himself, and it's just more confirmation that what we're seeing in front of that podium is who he is. He's just a big goofball.
So it's funny because I'm on the opposite fence, is that, I love the draft time, but rather than being in the war room, I want to be in the homes of these players.
Sure. And well, you got that too.
They got to show some of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We got to see Penei Sewell break down, and we got to see, who was it? Was it Amon-Ra St. Brown with the little phone video, just with everyone hanging around?
And he got a call. He got a call from Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
that was weird and
LA
cool.
baby,
Yeah.
LA baby. But that's the cool magic of the draft season. And yeah, it is, as I've heard another person refer to this kind of stuff, state-sponsored NFL media. But we like these looks inside. It gives us good memes, and hopefully this one lasts longer than the baseball bat.
Well, yeah, if you want something to replace the baseball bat, it's the phrase, "We're going to bring you in to compete." And also trust the process. Like, we trusted our process. Process. Like, it just, it was on a loop.
Yeah.
And then every phone call from Dan Campbell was, "We're going to bring you in to compete, brother." And it fires me up, man. Like the thing about watching the video that stood out immediately, as Jeremy kind of already alluded to, the Lions drafted 6 Pro Bowlers and Jamar Jefferson.
Oh, poor Jamar.
They just didn't dedicate the amount of time to Jamar Jefferson that they did to everybody else.
Well, that's because even in the war room, they probably weren't talking about him that much. They were just like sitting around for 150 picks, being like, all right, what do we do now? Oh, we're on the clock. Jamar Jefferson. We like that Oregon State guy.
Yeah, was it Dan Campbell who
it's on like auto draft at that point? Yeah.
Yeah, he leans over after they make the Derek Barnes pick, and he's like, "And we got how many more picks?" Or he says we got 100 more picks until our next.
Yeah.
But
he's really feeling it at that point. He's Roger Goodell, Mr. Rogering in his chair at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, Chris, you just mentioned some things that you'd like to see more, is the kind of the opposite side, and seeing into the living rooms of these players that are getting drafted, which, they showed a little bit, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more myself, because I think they did a pretty thorough job with Penei Sewell.
Right.
And then obviously it kind of de-escalated with the rest of the picks, but I just want to talk. Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, and I'll let you finish, but for me, for my journalism and for my human interest side, that kind of stress, that's where the real stress is on draft night. Those guys, their entire careers up to this point on the line, and Penei Sewell went at 7, he went pretty high, but and I don't want to see the pain of guys when they fall, but you can even see it in Penei Sewell, that moment when everything floods over him. That kind of stuff, and his whole family is there, and just the pressure of the family, college coaches who are there, everything that's a pressure cooker. I want to be in that. I want to be some short ribs in that instant pot and just feel what that's like.
I think that's a really cool angle to get some behind the scenes footage on, for sure, because you see Penei Sewell, but at the same time you see Aleem McNeil, who's just kind of lounging on a couch with a back scratcher, just waiting for somebody to draft him. So
I liked how they made him do an interview with the teams to be like, oh yeah, I was excited, I just wasn't showing it just because whatever. They're like, you have to explain yourself if we're gonna show you being kind of slovenly on the couch.
Yeah. My favorite takeaway, though, and that's what I wanted to get around to, is your guys' kind of favorite takeaway you had, or favorite part of this inclusion inside the den. My personal favorite were the little clips that we got of the pre-draft interviews.
Yeah.
With like Melifonwu and Derek Barnes, even some of their undrafted players.
Yeah.
That they had some conversations with that they showed. Even like Hank Fraley talking to Penei Sewell. I thought all of those kind of conversations were pretty cool because it didn't give you a ton, but it gave you some insight into like describe yourself in 3 words, like as a football player, and like all like some of the draft questions that came along with it too. But yeah, I thought that was cool, and even Aubrey Pleasant talking to Melifonwu, and Melifonwu asking a question to Pleasant of like, what's one thing that would be beneficial to me, like during
advice,
this draft process.
Yeah. And
that's all.
I was just gonna say really quick, like watching Amon-Ra St. Brown break down his own film is cool. Like that, of course they're doing that sort of stuff, but you never really see it. So just kind of seeing that process, I agree that was a good addition.
That's all cool. I once like a whole interview with who was it? Was it Onzarique's neighbor who had the Lions jersey ready to go?
He's draped over the fence. Yeah,
yeah.
I guess my biggest takeaway is that like you really saw we've heard the camaraderie thing from everybody in the building, right? Like everyone's getting along and the working relationships so well and it's all collaborative. You really did see it in that video, and it was interesting to me because Brad Holmes did kind of like a round of interviews yesterday or last week with the media, and one of the things he said was the best thing about the job was working alongside Dan Campbell, and that kind of surprised me. I'm like, it sounds like a corporate Fred line, like, wow, the GM and coach are getting along so well, but like those guys were just 2 guys having a blast in a war room the entire time, and it really, I think maybe the time it really displayed itself was when they were doing the UDFAs, when everyone in the room was calling up the UDFAs, and that's interesting to me because I've never really seen that. All these behind the scene war room videos, they don't really show the UDFA process where everyone's got a phone in their hand trying to close deals, and you see Mike Disner closing deals, you see Dorsey closing deals, you see voices that you don't even hear.
Good job,
Yeah, and they're all getting pumped for each other, and they're all working together, and that's just a cool thing to see. And is it like that everywhere? I mean, probably. Everyone's doing, giving each other high fives because they got the guy they wanted, and Dan Campbell apparently is doing backflips for Sage Surratt, which is very, very surprising to me. Maybe we'll have to give him more credit when training camp comes around, but I think the UDFA part was the most interesting for me.
Yeah, and again, like I think again we have to rebound on this. This is at Lions themselves present this.
Right.
They get to control the message on that, and that's something you see more and more across the NFL, where teams are more and more controlling their own messages. So it's cool. It's very cool, and we get to eat it up here. But it's also like just a bit of caution in case it comes down the pike and suddenly things aren't as rosy. But I mean, for right now, but to Jeremy's point, you hear it everywhere about the Lions right now. That is just such a culture change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But speaking of that culture change, I think why all of us kind of ate this up like it was a Ritz cracker when in reality it was like a saltine was because we've been starving for something like this for how long?
We got past minicamp and there's nothing.
Well, and there was like 6 years of no behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Could you ever imagine the last regime putting out a video like this?
No, not at all. I mean, they tried, but it was even more,
filtered.
Yeah, filtered than this.
Let's go with filtered.
Yeah. But there were let's talk about maybe some of the things that they weren't showing, or maybe things that you wish you would have seen, because I do think this was filtered. Otherwise you would believe that the Lions got everyone they wanted. And maybe to some point that is true. Like it was cool that they were talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown in day 2, and they ended up getting him on day 3. When he's trying to tell Sheila Ford-Hamp, like, don't worry about us not getting a wide receiver. That USC kid's still on the board, and turns out they get him a day later. But they didn't mention a single other draft prospect in this entire video that they didn't draft. All right, are you going to lead me to believe that there was never a conversation about grabbing someone else? Of course there was.
No, that's definitely like, again, that's part of the part of the state.
And I would have liked to see that, because like I think even in the first round they said like there was a reference to 2 people they would have liked. One being Penei Sewell, the other being, I don't know. And would it really hurt the Lions' reputation that much if they had just revealed that person, I mean, if that person goes on to be, you know, a Hall of Famer and Penei Sewell sucks or whatever, maybe someone links that and they look bad or whatever. But to me, I wish there would have been a little bit more transparency there in terms of players that they were also considering, and even more specifically trades. You know, I like trade talk. They referenced a couple trades, and you know, in the first round they were talking about maybe a trade up. It seemed like they were never serious about a trade down. And then I guess the thing that might, I mean, it feeds into my anxiety that I already had a little bit about Brad Holmes is like, I don't think they took any trade down offers that seriously. There was a point when they were about to draft Melifonwu at 101, and Brad Holmes is on the phone with presumably Jacksonville at 130. He says, trade down to 130. And what do you guys remember what the next words were out of Dan Campbell's mouth?
No.
Tell him 2 first rounds. 2 future firsts.
Hey, I like the balls on this guy.
2
I like
future
the cut
firsts.
of his jib. I like the cut of his jib.
In other words, no
All right.
thank you. I want to stay where I'm at. And I'm just like, well, I mean, at least have a real conversation. Come on.
Well, we're about to have a real conversation coming up right here in a couple minutes because it's time for LISTCAST. How excited are you, Ryan?
It is 10:30 p.m. the night before Christmas.
Okay. That's very specific.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. All right, we've got a lot of people who have been chiming in, so
And we got a lot of alerts I got to get
Holy
through.
God, yeah, Lefty Detroit. You've been subscribed for 15 months, and you just drop another 10 burger.
A 10
and
burger.
You're at 420.
Yes.
420.
You beat me to it. Yep, 420 gifted subs in the channel. I'd be fine if you just wanted to stop there. To be completely honest. Thank you so much for all of your support.
Thank you, sir.
Then we get 100.
Thinking about it.
Then Derek Boberick with the 100 bits. Then Joshua Mercer did a lefty himself, a lefty Detroit himself. First he subbed for 12 months. Yep, he's at a year now. Then he goes ahead and follows it up with the 10 gifted subs. And then lefty Detroit, having already gifted 420 subs to the channel, drops 420 bits. He's in a mood today.
He is. We love you guys. You guys are crazy. We love you all for it.
Why is the text so small? Chat box.
Why
You guys are
is the
feeling
text
yourself
so
today?
small?
That's awesome.
Let's change those font settings. Get them up.
We're still in beta. By the way, we have expanded our
That's better.
Discord. If you haven't joined it, I will put it in the chat right now. ! Discord in the chat. Be sure to join the Pride Detroit Discord.
That's
We
a
now
lot.
have a POD discussion thread going right now. Discussion room right now. We've got all category for podcast and Twitch. You can sign up there as well. I'm working on a role spot. I need to figure out what roles I want to give people. One of them is for podcast stuff. So you will get notified when the podcast comes up, when we're live on Twitch. You can subscribe on Twitch right now, the notification channel, to know when the MeSeeks bot tells us we're live. I think the MeSeeks bot's doing a little bit better. Sometimes I know it'll only kick in 5 minutes or 10, 15 after we start streaming, but it was pretty prompt today.
We should put a at here alert on it. Can we do that with the bot?
So that's part of what I'm going to do, just in
Yeah.
case people are just here for the discussion, is I'm going to set up a role for podcast and Twitch listeners so that it then will send the notification to them,
Got it.
to those specific people.
Nice.
Also, we also now have a ton of rooms, so I probably want to set up stuff so certain rooms hide and show themselves, depending on what roles you have. We are gonna start, I think, a fantasy football league for Discord users, so probably that role will go in. I need some more ideas for roles. We do have suggestion box on Discord, so by all means, please join the Discord. It is like this Twitch channel 24/7.
True. What's this? I'd like some off-season articles from Ryan on his sports betting picks. I too am a big fan of it.
Well, guess what? Stay tuned because
In season.
Ryan and I have something in the works.
For in season
Yeah.
stuff, maybe.
In season? Well, I mean, once this gets rolling, I don't know if it goes later in the off season.
Yeah, I don't know if you can turn it off.
Any recent wagers that we need to be aware of? It's playoff time. You got some playoff money coming in or going out?
I honestly do not need to share any of. I don't need to share anything that's
Were
associated.
you waylaid? Were you waylaid by the Sons and Four guy?
I was not, but that's when the prophet speaks, the prophecy becomes fulfilled.
When the prophet speaks, there are prophets.
Wow.
So you're losing. Fair enough.
No, I'm not losing. I'm not winning. Let's just say that I have gambled a lot.
You still got some bankroll.
Yeah. Because I still
That was a big pause.
I was gonna say yeah because I still earn a paycheck. So
Does it ever actually make it to the bank account though?
Listen, Ryan's a family man now.
I am. I have other people to consider. Wait, where is he? Hey, come on.
Speaking of which,
Come here.
Speaking of mouths
Come
to
here.
feed,
Oh, you were sleeping.
oh
huh?
man, there
Oh,
he
you woke
is.
him up.
Come on.
There
Come
he
here.
is.
Come up to me. Don't just sit. You always want to jump. Come on.
Can't wait until we do the LISTCAST for tight ends and Hunter Henry is number one with the ACL tear again. Dude, that's a joke that's never gonna die.
how long ago was
Never.
that? How long ago
That
did
was
Hunter Henry tear his ACL?
Was that 2018?
Maybe.
Was
Oh,
that
man,
3 years ago?
Wait,
I think it may have
he
been
hurt
even
his leg
longer than that.
again?
Yeah, he did.
Recently?
Yeah.
It was 2018.
2018. Yeah, I was right.
It
3
was
years
2018. But apparently it's not serious, but Hunter Henry suffered a leg injury a couple days ago.
Oh,
ago. Yeah, I think at camp. Yeah.
Oh, he's on the
And-
Patriots now. I forgot
Yeah,
about
and
that.
Jonnu Smith had a injury too, and he's with the Patriots as well. So all their tight ends that they signed in the offseason.
They're starting to pile up bodies just before Mac Jones tries to
Let's
take command.
let's trade him
Who do you work
rights.
for, Chris?
Can we trade him?
What's that?
Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say, could we trade Josh Hill's rights to the Patriots
Nah.
as a retired guy? Just like
I don't want to trade with the Patriots.
I'll trade a retired guy. Just be like, hey, maybe you guys can coax him out. Give us a fifth. Try and see.
Or were you going to ask me, Ryan, about Mac Jones?
I was going to ask you who you work for.
Oh. That is a joke just to us. Like,
I don't care. It makes me laugh, so I don't give a shit.
I feel like we're going to do that with everyone whose last name is Jones now in the NFL. That would be a great bit. Lion in London, thank you for the 5 subs.
5 gifted. Dang, you guys came at it today.
5.
Appreciate all that love. Well over our 200 sub goal again.
I'll be honest, this has been a busy weekend for me because Euro 2020 is going on, even with the wrong number, which I think kind of inspired Jeremy because when he sent this out, it originally was labeled our sheet for LISTCAST. It was labeled LISTCAST 2020.
Yeah,
and I corrected it for him.
I just overwrote our one from last year, and then I realized that was dumb because now we can't reference what we had on any of our last year's lists.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh God.
Which is sad, but whatever.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can go back and look at the file history if you're that concerned about it, right?
Yeah, you
Maybe.
can it's on Drive, so you should be able to get from because we put it together over the weekend. Just find the version from like Thursday.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. Like, there's one name specifically. He had to have been top 4, and he's definitely not top 4 anymore.
I know who you're talking about, and I know because I'm about to. I almost put him on mine, and I'm glad you at least put him on yours.
Let's see if
Are we on the same wavelength, or are we thinking different?
He is not on your list, but he's on. Oh no, not
He's on
everybody's.
yours.
He's on mine and Ryan's list.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay, then I'm not thinking of the same
But not
person.
yours. He's 8 on our list if you're looking. That's who I'm talking about.
No, I was thinking of who is 16.
Oh, oh, that one. Was he on our
Yes.
list last year?
Well, I wouldn't know. You fucking deleted that.
All right, well, check. Top 10 wide receivers 2020 Pride of Detroit. I wonder if I can. I think we definitely had a debate whether this guy was a top 10 receiver.
Okay.
I don't think he did, though. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
No, this is good. I need content for
we
scraps,
teasing?
so
Are
I'm
we
glad
teasing?
we have this shit. So, see what happened was. How good of a squad must England have to win over typical England stuff? I don't know, man. Like, it's impressive that you at least tied against drew against Croatia. I'm still coming off that Italy glow of just annihilating Turkey.
Soccer.
Sounds like
I mean,
me on
scary
Thanksgiving.
shit. Like, what would you? What I want to ask you, Jeremy, because you are always critical of broadcast media. Like, because that was the scub from the weekend. Was ESPN kept the camera on the Danish player whose heart stopped?
Oh, I don't know the story
Yeah.
at all. So,
Oh no. So I forget his name. I'm sorry, but Christian Eriksen collapsed during play
yeah.
during Denmark's opening game. And I know ESPN had the camera on him while they were performing CPR.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, it got worse too because then they cut to a shot of his either wife or girlfriend.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just go to commercial or something. I mean, or just give updates without showing it. No, that's awful.
Yeah, that was a little much.
No
I know
one
some
signed up for
people
that.
also were mad that they resumed that game, but I think that's what you had to do at that point. Like they resumed it the next day, but
I mean, that's.
I know there was
it's-
some argument that
There's no easy decision there.
yeah.
Can't
I mean,
remember.
I'm just-
Did the Wings game finish when Yuri Fisher collapsed? I can't remember.
I think they did, but I don't know. That's a good question. I shouldn't say I know.
It was only 2 hours later? I'm sorry. I was under the assumption it resumed. Yeah, that was their decision. Was either 2 hours later or the next day. That's right. I got it confused in my head. I was thinking about that because again, we have to. I mean, we're an NFL podcast and everything like, and the injury quotient for NFL is much higher. I just think about if something like that happens during an NFL game, like.
I mean, the game would definitely go on, right? Like we've seen players get paralyzed, and they obviously go on.
Yeah, it would go on. It would absolutely go on. I'm just. Yeah,
That's tough. That's
yeah.
It's a tough part.
Sorry,
of
not to
sports,
bring
I
us
guess.
not to,
Yeah,
not to bring
right.
us down during LISTCAST day, but
Yeah, it's all good.
I just found it fascinating. Between that and like, I mean, my mind's either that or it's E3, or it's apparently this Catwoman shit now. That's all over.
No. We
no,
can't. No. I trust me. I have takes, but they can't be a part of
They
Scratch.
can't be a part of it.
You don't want to just lick up the
God,
scraps? That's all?
Miss Kitty says LJ Burrow. I'm ignoring that pun. For my own
I
sanity.
have to ignore it.
We all have to.
If Jeremy's allowed to shake his head, take his glasses off, and do the whole, when I say that I would annihilate turkey on Thanksgiving too, but when Jeremy has puns,
You'll
like
annihilate turkey, but not fish.
stop.
Roman, did they continue the game when Clint Malarchuk got his throat slit by skate? Yeah, I think they did.
How are we balancing these two topics right now?
I don't know. Erwin's now
Can we
trying
not?
to throw in fuck E3, and all I'm going to say is no, do not fuck E3. First off, don't fuck E3, but also we got Elden Ring finally, so I'm
Just please E3 in a way that Batman wouldn't.
jeez.
Oh,
Jeez.
I'm gonna resign.
Comments. I hate all of you. I hate all of you.
I'm just trying to feed the scraps, you know? Give some content to the degenerates among us.
Is that what we're saying Batman wouldn't do to... Okay.
Do you not know the story?
No.
Oh.
But I know the story, and that's
Okay.
what I'm not as good at setting up punts as you.
Come on, Ryan, get one in there before we go back.
I don't think he wants to.
Hmm.
He's not in the mood.
I know Batman wants to get one in there. Okay, can we go on?
Best Twitch stream ever. I agree, Mr. Kirk. I agree. Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
get on to the LISTCAST.
And just so you know,
It's
we're
gonna
gonna
go.
we're gonna stay on this screen chat. We're just gonna get rid of you guys. Sorry, we're not gonna see your chat anymore because this is where our list is gonna be.
Yeah, we're gonna have it on the stream. I originally was bandying for the idea of doing like a tier maker, a tier cast, but I think we all agreed that would have been way too much work.
Yeah,
I think maybe that might be a fun off-season stream later on for like one of us to put players into tiers.
100%. That seems like more of a casual
A casual midweek stream or
Right.
something. Yeah.
just kind of off the cuff thing
Yeah.
where this requires preparation.
Sure. We'll
Sure.
we'll let people think that that's what it that's what we do.
LJ, what are you doing here? We might not be going back from break yet. He wants to do an impromptu list cast. What do you
I
want,
was going to
LJ?
say we can do it on the other side too.
Let's hear what he wants first, and if it's something that requires some thought, we'll save it for a second break. Top 10 heroes? Oh boy.
None of that.
Superheroes, I imagine.
I think he means superheroes. Number 1, Rorschach.
Oh God.
I probably can't load this up with guys from My Hero Academia, can I?
I mean, you can, but you're just gonna be called a weeb.
I can't put one. Can I? I can't even put One Punch Man on here.
I don't make the rules.
You make your own list out of however you deem is fair. I'm certainly not going to hold anyone's fire to superheroes, my least favorite genre of fiction.
Yeah, seriously. Like, who decided that this was going to be our dominating cultural output for 20 years? Is just guys running around in tights.
You know who did? Frickin' Tobey Maguire and his stupid Spider-Man movies.
This is true. This is true. That I was arguing with someone about the origin of where we got into it. It was Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
This is what kicked it all off.
It's his fault.
Like Dark Knight made us all think it could be high art, but Spider-Man 2 was when Marvel was like, "Oh, we can just run this into the ground."
Yeah. Well, maybe it was Spider-Man 3 because they were like, "This movie sucks, but it still made us a ton of money."
Yeah, that maybe too. I always thought it was Blade. So Blade was the 90s and early 2000s was weird for superhero movies because you'd have Blade and Spawn and
Oh yeah,
everyone was
I'm
trying
with
to
Blade.
but nobody was thinking we need to do massive cinematic universes and the big Marvel and DC stuff. It was just we were just kind of toying at the idea of just trying to get another Batman off the ground.
How much of the cinematic universes just prey on people's FOMO?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, if I miss out on this movie, then maybe I'll be lost in the next one.
No, it was. I remember reading something on Grantland way back. It was like, how can you be excited for Age of Ultron? And this was written, I think, in 2015 or whatever, before this all kind of really started rolling. And it was pointing out how many franchises were coming down the pike. And it's like, and he even said it right. It's like, how are you going to be excited about Avengers when Avengers Age of Ultron's coming out the next year and it's just about the scraps for that next storyline? It wasn't far off the mark, except it was to Endgame, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer that question, Blank Man, number 1.
Oh, Blank Man. Blank Man's good.
I joked about Rorschach, but I probably would put Dr. Manhattan in my top 10.
Dr. Manhattan's cool. He's naked. He's blue.
Huge dong.
He'd go down on someone.
I'm pretty sure he did.
All right. I can show you my number 1 favorite hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to even bother explaining what that is?
Let's go look up Bat Dance.
I guess you don't really need to.
Bat Dance.
Just Google Bat Dance. Just Google Bat Dance. Look it up on YouTube. Have yourself a moment.
Man, I'm so glad that you sent that to me, Jeremy. I'm waiting to put it in like the perfect frame.
Yeah, that was from some kind of pop culture art place that I used to go to a lot over in LA. What was it called? Do you remember what it was called, Ryan? Since Chris still lives in LA, we could tell him.
Yeah, I could look it up.
It's like it's got numbers in it to shout them out.
I was gonna say there's a couple of decent places. I even know like around
Gallery 1988.
There it is.
Gallery 1988. All right, I'll have to look that up.
That's where I got my community art. This stuff. Britta and Annie in
Nice.
the Western
I need
thing.
some money so I can go get frames. I have like a poster from Lucha Vavoom from like 3 years ago. I am still waiting to get framed. If you don't know what Lucha Vavoom is, it is like the most LA thing ever.
But if anyone's interested in some pop culture,
Well, you spammed it. Wow.
It's
Seriously,
fun.
is Nolan's
really cool
Batman? It's not even close. So real quick, I'm just trying to think, just real quick off the top, just to put a proper list together. I mean, Batman is still number one for me.
Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll always be my number one.
Not even a superhero.
Batman.
He's just a rich dude.
I know it has its own. I'm talking just the characters, not the fucking movies, because number 2 for me is Green Lantern, and if I was going by the movies, that's never gonna happen. But
Not a fan of Ryan Reynolds.
It just wasn't good, man.
He was
love Ryan Reynolds, but that was a better movie.
Objectively, he was a better Pikachu than he was a Green Lantern.
Yeah. Number 3.
It's a better Pikachu than a Deadspin too.
Deadspin.
I hate
Deadspin?
Deadpool, whatever his stupid name is. They're both dead to me at this point.
Yeah, number 3. Someone's already guessed it. It's Wolverine. Wolverine is in there as number 3. I think there's probably what.
I was gonna say Wolverine in the brown and yellow suit gives me nostalgic vibes.
We've kind of memory hold X-Men, but
Are you literally putting Wolverine in the Wolverine meme?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I miss you, Wolverine.
Yeah.
But in that specific suit. Like, there was somebody the other day who I saw on Twitter, they were talking about, like, one thing that a lot of, like, period pieces from the 70s doesn't do a good enough a job capturing is how fucking brown everything was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I wish I was around for that.
I will say I like the movie Logan. That's as far as I will go of saying anything positive superhero related.
I'm careful about Logan because I feel like Logan opened the gate for Joker, which in turn has opened the gate for all these other movies where it's like, we want to do artsy movies, but as superhero movies.
Joker is fine.
Joker
is just king of comedy.
Joker was so nah. It was so
really?
Okay. It was so.
You're not a Joaquin fan?
No, I am a Joaquin fan. Just I didn't appreciate. The thing about the Joker as a character is that like he doesn't need a backstory.
No, he absolutely.
Well, yeah,
right.
that's a problem with every single film right now. Is everything needs a freaking backstory. The puppy murderer needs a backstory, and the puppy murderer's backstory is that a puppy murdered her mother. What the?
Martha.
But it turns out the puppy.
Yeah, the Dalmatian's name was Martha. Yeah.
I actually get
that movie tanked, didn't it?
I don't know.
No, it hasn't reached China yet. Once it hits China, they'll make back all their money.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. Like all these movies should be tanking, but the Chinese like audience for movies now is like nothing fails anymore. Nothing fails anymore as long as you release it in China.
It's a good business model.
No, it is.
Let's take the
All
Lions to China.
Yeah. So, Guangzhou Lions. All right, I've got my list up to 5 now.
It's all right. Knock it out. Let's so we can get back to this.
I'm trying like hell while we're all. I'm trying to make the list. I'm trying to be serious about this so we can get back to actual business. So number 1 is Batman. Number 2 is Green Lantern. 3 is Wolverine. 4, fuck all of you. It's Saitama from One Punch Man. It's Saitama. He's a superhero. Deal with it.
Jamal Williams loves you for that.
I know. He should. It's great. If you haven't seen One Punch Man, you really should. It's very funny. Number 5 is Dr. Manhattan. I teased it. Yeah, I'm going to put Dr. Manhattan in there. He's tired of all these people. Dr. Manhattan is a real, like, relatable vibe. That if you had the power of a god, that you would just schlep off this earth. You get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair.
Come on. One Punch Man is like, screw you, Constrictor. Let's see, number 6. God, I'm running out of superheroes.
Are you going 10? You going a full 10? We never do a full 10.
He asked
okay,
for 10.
but we never do a full 10 on.
No, I know we never do
impromptu.
a full 10.
You're just giving him a treat.
know we never
I guess
do a
since
full
I'm
10.
not doing a list at all, you can go as long as you want.
No, I know. That's where I'm trying to figure out. I might tease the bottom 5 for the other side, but I'm gonna just real quick. I guess fine. I'll give you Spider-Man. I'll give you Spider-Man at 6. I'm not too big on Spider-Man, but he's an icon. He's everything I hate about New York. Actually, you know what? Screw Spider-Man. I'm gonna go with the better Spider-Man. At 6, it's Spawn.
I love how how Chris is getting into it.
I do. I have to look up a list of superheroes now because I've run out of names that I recognize.
Shout out to Megan Nisbet for the perfect tweet.
Is this a video? Is this just
It's just a GIF, I
GIF
think.
of him dancing?
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, I forgot. Hold
Oh
on.
God.
Let me desktop. There you go. If you're not watching the Pride Detroit podcast,
This is the worst fucking list I've ever done. Because I never watched anything
What a great
Marvel
GIF.
when I was growing up. I did not like Marvel. I didn't.
Who put Chris in charge of superhero listcast? I mean, you got
None of you
two
know
people
it.
that are not that enthusiastic about superhero movies right now.
And I like schlock and pulp. So-
RoboCop counts as a superhero, right?
Does he? Did he fight? Did he fight Batman one time? I think.
I don't know, but he was on WCW television.
So are we
He was
just
in-
throwing
wasn't
all
he in a
wrestling at
Soul
wrestlers?
Was
superheroes?
RoboCop in a Soul Calibur game or something? He was in a fighting game.
RoboCop?
Hey,
Mortal
Conan,
Kombat. Yeah, he was in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, with Terminator.
Which Mortal Kombat? Because I am buying it when I go downstairs.
11.
Okay, cool.
By the way, Conan Eyes, good friend Conan Eyes, with the 8-month subscription says 1 more month and we're having a Twitch, baby. You better start coming up with some names. He's definitely going to have a mustache. He's going to have the biggest of mustache just coming right out of the womb. Conan Eyes has got a big mustache. You guys wouldn't understand.
No, I wouldn't get it.
No, I understand. I'm just not.
I want to throw some. If anyone is a sub, I think I'm a sub to Conan Eyes. At least I was at some point. Yeah, I am. He's even got his fancy own mustache emote that I'm super jealous of. Wait, we're on the wrong thing.
Okay, I need 2 more superheroes. I am like really struggling here.
Venom.
He's a villain.
He's an anti-hero.
There's probably an X-Man you like, or an X-Woman.
I put Wolverine on here.
Yeah, you don't have enough female characters on
Yeah,
your list,
wow,
Chris.
wow, Chris.
Sorry. Superhero is it's like WNBA. I know I'm supposed to like it, but I just have no interest. I guess but again, Catwoman's a villain.
It's true.
Fuck, we just brought it full circle, didn't we?
I think we did. You know who's not allowed to bring it full circle? Batman.
God.
Did he list Xena or Buffy? Are those superheroes? Like that?
Xena the
Ooh.
Princess Warrior?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Red Sonja, which is like a comic. I don't know if she's a superhero, but that's
She-Hulk. But
She-Hulk.
isn't it kind of like offensive to just like be like, here's a woman superhero who's just the
Batgirl.
female version of the male superhero?
That's Batgirl. That's
Yeah,
Batgirl.
that's Superwoman.
Supergirl. And isn't it also kind of offensive that they're always like, they're not women, but they're like girls? Like, it's not
Superman.
Batboy, Batman, Superman, and then it's like Supergirl.
Okay.
Except for Robin's a little boy.
What about the Flash? You know, like the Flash, he's really fast, man.
Wasn't there? I was gonna say like some of these superheroes became women too when it's like multiple generations. Like Green Lantern is like 3 different people.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm almost there. I'm almost there, guys, and I'll give it from the top.
I'm ready
That's
to
what
just
Catwoman
watch
said.
a different Twitch channel right now.
I'm sorry. We've been promising this guy. All right. Well, it's literally what people ask for, man.
I know.
We got to give the people.
I'm kidding.
All
I'm
right.
kidding.
All right. I do have a superhero win on this, and it's another X-Men. All right. I've got it. Number 10, Doctor Strange. Like the only part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe I like. Number 9, Spider-Man. I'll give it to you guys. I hate New York, but fine. Number 8, Storm from X-Men.
You just threw that in just to make us.
No.
feel better.
I remembered it now. I do love Storm. I do like Storm. Number 7, Blade. Number 6, Judge Dredd. Number 5, Dr. Manhattan. Number 4, Saitama from One Punch Man. Number 3, Wolverine. 2, Green Lantern. 1, Batman. There. Finally. Good Christ. Can we please get on to wide receivers?
The real superheroes that actually exist, wide receivers.
He's literally just putting any superhero into the list they can think of. Yes, that's the point of LISTCAST. Fuck Iron Man. Go play Mech Warrior.
Here's my hot take that's going to piss both of you off. Iron Man is just a cooler Batman. He's got
Only
more
because
gadgets.
of the suit. Only because of the suit.
And he's not a sad sack little bitch.
I have to respectfully disagree because Michael Keaton is objectively better than Robert Downey Jr.
No lies detected.
Okay. That's
Do you
true.
guys like
That's true.
Mahershala Ali coming in as Batman, as Blade? So I don't keep up with superhero movies. That kind of sounds. I'm intrigued by that. What do you think, Brian?
I'm in on it. Any more Blade we can get, like a guy who fights vampires? That's cool. You know what's almost as cool? Why? Hold on. How come Vin Diesel didn't make your list from the Fast and Furious franchise? How come down?
Okay, time for wide receivers. Come on, let's get back to the podcast. We're 50 minutes in. We've done
one segment. Oh Lord.
And it was the one segment we weren't even sure we were going to do.
Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. It's LISTCAST time. Let's do it. Let's finally do it. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how long I have been waiting. We had another LISTCAST during the break that I don't even know if that one will make it into the scraps because it was painful. It was painful to put together. Like the worst thing. But that's just a reminder. You can join us on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit for the full experience of our pain, agony of being the most reviewed Lions podcast on. We bring you everything you want, man. We do. And some things you don't want. It's LISTCAST season. Since we have implemented this from a few years ago, we have a system where we poll the Pride of Detroit staff, writers, and friends who have joined the podcast, some who haven't. We compile them as a composite. Chris, myself, Jeremy, Ryan, we have our own rankings, and we'll talk maybe about our own rankings a little bit. But we try to do the entire POD staff and let them have their say. And it creates some strife and it creates some discourse. Let's talk about, though, as we always do before we get into the top 10, the guys who didn't make it. Some guys got some points, depending on where they landed on these lists, but some people were alone in their charges. Like, say, Hamza, who had Amari Cooper at 6, who did not make this list at all. Or myself with Keenan Allen, who I was the only one standing on those ramparts for Keenan Allen.
I thought about Keenan Allen, and then I'm like, you know what? I think Terry McLaurin is going to be the new Keenan Allen, and I almost put Terry McLaurin on my list, but he's not quite there yet. He needs to prove it.
There's some young guys on this list. I think Chris Godwin. I want to talk about Chris Godwin in a second because I see he fell out of the top 10, but like Chris Godwin, very exciting. I think AJ Brown, not to spoil this, AJ Brown's another one of those young wide receivers that's turning a lot of heads. But I want to talk about one in particular that didn't make our list, Jeremy. Well, which one did you have circled? Because I think you were looking up if he was in our top 10 last year.
Okay, well, yeah, we were talking during the break. Kenny Golladay did not make this list. In fact, I was the only one to vote for him as a top 10 receiver. He was 10 on my list, and I found that interesting.
Is it just he's no longer a Lion and we're doing this?
Well, there's a couple things that might be working against him. There has become this narrative in Detroit that, he didn't get any separation, therefore he's trash. There's the fact that he got injured last year, so if you're trying to create this list based on 2020 stats, he's not going to be up there. And yeah, there's the fact that he's no longer a Lion, and I think that hurts him too. But I mean, that's not to say there aren't arguments that he's not a top 10 wide receiver. I just think, I think we had this discussion last year, and I don't remember if he made our list or not. But I know there were a couple of us that were saying like he's there. He just needs to, put together a couple seasons. And to be fair, he hasn't strung together like multiple seasons of doing it. I just think if we're talking skill-wise, and that's the thing that we need to make sure everyone realizes, this is supposed to be, in a vacuum, just based on pure talent, not how we think they're going to do this year, not based on quarterback play, not based on what scheme they're in. It's just based on pure talent. And I think Kenny Golladay, pure talent-wise, is a top 10 wide receiver, but just barely. And so it doesn't surprise me that he didn't make the list at all.
Yeah, I mean, he hurt not playing this. This was the big year for him. We didn't really see how he played, so I think he's still an unknown factor for us.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't want to say like not having Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen on the list, or some of the guys like Kenny Golladay in the top 10. Like, there's so much variance that happens throughout the course of a season. Like, of course, some of this stuff is going to make us look goofy, right? Like, not having one of these guys on our list is going to be like, how did you not have X wide receiver on your list of top 10? He went and balled out. So like I would like. When all of us submitted our top 10 lists, there was nobody who included anybody on a list where I was like, how would you ever include them in the top 10?
Right.
Was there any other names we should cover? I mentioned Chris Godwin. DK Metcalf came in at 13. I think he and Godwin, for both of those guys, 3 different people had them on their polls, and they just didn't. Those are the only 2 with more than 2 voters who just didn't make the list.
I was pretty surprised that DK Metcalf didn't make the list.
Really?
I mean,
I
had him 8th, I think. I mean,
you did
2 seasons of very productive football, a 900-yard season and a 1,300-yard season with 10 touchdowns last year. I know he started his career as kind of like a meme, like he's just like this super buff dude with just like a ridiculous body type and ridiculous claims that he's Megatron, and I'm not claiming that, but like he's backed it up. That dude is 23 years old, and I think he's already proved it. I think he's going to continue to prove it. I'm surprised he didn't make it.
I'm mostly just worried because I've seen this happen with guys. And again, we're doing this talent-wise, not scheme, but when I look at a Seahawks receiver, I do have to wonder how much is their skill and then who's just the recipient at the moment for Russell Wilson. And that's kind of how I've regarded Metcalf. Like, yeah, he's had a decent receiver. I look a lot at catch percentage. I want to see guys who have sure hands. And I think we'll talk about this later, but he was like his First year it was 58%. His second year only 64%. That kind of hurts me, regardless of how many yards you have. Like, yeah, Yak will probably come into play, but I like to see guys who have sure hands too.
And I'm
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm probably gonna end up contradicting myself in this list, but for me, the reason why a guy like Chris Godwin still made my list is not just because I've kind of memed myself into it, but because he's a guy who plays in both the slot and outside. So like that kind of versatility is something that I look at and be like, hey, like this guy can play all over the field. He's a threat. When it comes to Chris Godwin, I had all my stats pulled up and ready to go, so I have to say that he spent the exact same amount of time in the slot and out wide in his NFL career. So, like, those are the kind of guys that I really appreciate.
Yeah. And we all have different criteria. That's what makes it fun.
And really quick before we should probably jump into the top 10.
Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, I do think, and there's kind of been this ongoing argument internally about who's the best receiver for the Buccaneers. And it seems like maybe they split the vote a little bit because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin finished 11th and 12th on our list.
Yeah, I need to call out Jerry Mallory for putting Mike Evans at 5th and screwing like everything up here.
I mean, it didn't though. He didn't. He ended up staying outside the top 10. So.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
But yeah, let's start. Number 10 we have on our list is, drumroll for your new number one man, I think, in Atlanta, Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones is out of the building now, but Calvin Ridley very quietly has been very productive. And I think, again, we're looking at just talent, but it's hard to, like, even with Julio Jones there opposite him, like, the talent was on display last year. He kind of came into his own. 1,300 yards receiving. Not as great on catch percentage that year, but close to around 70% in years prior. And I think Pro Football Focus grade for Calvin Ridley had him at 11 last year, 84.9, tied with Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I have to mention my favorite Calvin Ridley stat because he just finished outside my list. I hemhawed, like he was right there at like number 10 for a while. But my favorite Calvin Ridley stat is he led the league last year in total 15-plus yard receptions. He had 40 of them. So, I mean, you think about all of the other names that are going to be up on this list. Calvin Ridley led all of the receivers last year in 15-plus yard catches. So, I mean, that's a pretty big stat, especially when he had 40 of them.
Yeah. He didn't make my list either, but yeah, he was right on the edge there. He proved last year he could be a number one receiver, right? Like that was the question. Could he eventually take over that number one role? And with Julio injured most of the season, he did. And he almost 1,400 yards, almost doubled his career yardage after 2000, and had good rookie and second season before that, 820 yards, 866, 10 touchdowns his rookie season, 7-9. So he's been consistently that red zone threat, big play threat. I still want to see a little bit more before he makes my top list, but he can certainly do it this year, right? Like if he does it again in a full offseason where he's being groomed as the number one, he has a chance to really cement himself as maybe even a top 5 guy.
And especially when he's got Kyle Pitts.
You had to.
I think I'm the only one on this podcast who had Calvin Ridley in my top 10. I think I had him at 6.
Yep.
Which just shows kind of the variance that that Ryan was talking about. We're all kind of, it's all over the board here, where I didn't make the top 10 for you guys. So let's go on to number 9. This guy wasn't in my top 10, so it's my turn to kind of doubt him a bit, but I know a lot of other people, I think he was on the top 10 for everyone except for myself. Jeremy, you didn't have him in your top 10 either. Neither did, I believe, Jerry Mallory. But Saints receiver Michael Thomas makes it in at number 9, just by a single point above Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to do a mea culpa here. Like, it's not that I completely forgot him, but I think if I would put another 3 hours into this, I think I probably would have put Michael Thomas on the list because he's one of these guys that's just, I feel like he fell off all of our radars because of injury last year. Didn't play much. This was a guy who was probably a top 5 on our list last year. And there always is the question, especially in New Orleans, like, is he just getting a ridiculous amount of targets, and that's why he has so many yards? And in some cases, the answer is yes. I mean, he had 149 catches last year, which is a ridiculous number. No, anything over 100 is a lot.
2 years ago, right?
2 years ago, yes. Sorry, 1999 or 29.
I was gonna say 2019. That was an insane amount, but like even before that, almost 150 in 2017 and 2018 each. So like that's why I didn't have him in my top 10. I just saw him as like a scheme product. But and like he's a great scheme product. He's a great scheme product. Let's not get it wrong.
You also have to consider a guy who's getting targeted that much is getting double covered. He's the focus of the defense, and he's still putting up ridiculous numbers. So he absolutely deserves to be on this list. And
he blew the doors off. He blew the doors off in 2019 with over 100. What was it? 108 yards per game average. I just don't see that kind of production going forward out of him. But Ryan, maybe you can find the upside on him since both of us didn't have him in our top 10.
I think he's just one of those guys who you can make all the jokes you want about how many slant routes he's going to run and how many catches he's going to make near the line of scrimmage to inflate that reception total. But there's a skill in that. Like there's a skill in being able to catch those passes, even when you're, as Jeremy just mentioned, like you're being schemed up where guys are probably double covering you. They're putting a guy over the top. Because it's not like Michael Thomas is just a one-trick pony. But he's obviously not going to get the same love that some of those other deep threats are going to get, like Julio Jones or, guys who can really stretch the field. But I think that there's value in Michael Thomas's ability to make contested catches, because I think right there at the line of scrimmage, that's when cornerbacks are able to put their hands all over you. Right. And Michael Thomas is able to fight that off and make the catch. And, as Chris mentioned, I think there's some recency bias too, just because Thomas had an injured season in 2020 and missed a lot of time, and obviously was without Drew Brees. But we'll see how he can do with Jameis Winston. And I know we're supposed to do this in a vacuum, but that's, I don't know if that's going to do wonders for Michael Thomas.
I think if you're a good enough receiver, you can overcome your quarterback sometimes. Like one of the guys who's later on our list, we will absolutely talk about that because he's prime example.
Poor man.
Number one of that.
Poor guy.
Yeah. But you mentioned Julio Jones. He is our number 8 receiver. He is on this list at number 8. The old man still going strong. Now in Tennessee, we'll have to see how he does, opposite A.J. Brown. That might take some, receptions away from him. But yeah, people still love Julio Jones. I thought maybe, he'd be a little lower just because because of the age, because of the change from Atlanta, but he's our number 8 receiver.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for him in the countdown. I had him at 7. But yeah, he's 32. He's going to be in a new place, which is always an adjustment, and maybe not as much for wide receiver. I think wide receivers can kind of really succeed wherever they go. But even in his injured season, he had 700, 800 yards, 771. The dude he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
At this point, I don't really have a reason to believe he's going to slow down unless the injury bug sticks with him. But it's never really been a huge problem in his career. I think he's going to bounce back in a big way, and I still think he's the big play threat that he's always been. He'll slow down eventually, but wide receivers can, especially of the large variety, can stick around for a while, and I think he will.
Yeah, he's definitely up there as like one of the best receivers of all time. And I know maybe that kind of pushes him onto this list, but if there's a guy who has anything to prove this season, it's going to be Julio in Tennessee. And yeah, I mean, he's just one of those elite talents that once he's going to be gone, like you're going to be looking for somebody to fill that void. Like it's like kind of like the Calvin Johnson effect. Like once Calvin was gone, it was like, who's making those highlight reel catches, when he's double, triple covered and, 25, 30 yards down the field. Well, that became Julio Jones. Like once Julio Jones goes away, who's going to be Julio Jones?
Calvin Ridley.
Whoa.
Yeah. Bold. That's why he's our number 10. All right. Number 7, newcomer to the list. I can't believe we're doing a sophomore on this list, but he balled out on his rookie year. I almost considered giving votes to both Minnesota Vikings receivers, but Justin Jefferson comes in at number 7. And I can't think of a guy who's like that was an insane rookie year that he had. To do that with, opposite Adam Thielen, like, yeah. it'll be impressive to see what they can do in with him in Minnesota. But I mean, just going down the list here on Justin Jefferson, excuse me as I stumble a little bit, but like a rookie getting 1,400 yards receiving at a 70% catch rate. Again, I like catch rate. Yards per game, 87. And I believe he was PFF's second highest graded wide receiver last year at 90.4, tied with someone else who's going to appear on our list later. But yeah,
to me, the
holy God,
the statistic that really pops out to me is yards per catch. 15.9. That is a ridiculous number. I mean, we talk about Michael Thomas, just being an example of just getting a ton of targets. You go back to like Michael Thomas's 2018 season. He got 1,400 yards on 125 receptions. Julio Jones got to 1,400 yards on 88. 88. Justin Jefferson. Sorry, what did I say? Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Those double J's.
Another JJ.
Double J's.
I'll remind you all again that he did that. Like he wasn't hurt this year, was he? Adam Thielen. I don't think he was. Like,
I don't think so.
No. So like
2019 was when he was injured. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm being adequate. But like, yeah, no, to do all that when you already have, as a rookie, when you already have another established receiving threat in Minnesota from Adam Thielen, I mean, as we say, independent of scheme, and he definitely proved that.
Most 20-plus yard plays amongst wide receivers tied with Calvin Ridley and Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's maybe most impressive about Justin Jefferson is there were a lot of questions about why Minnesota was so comfortable moving on from a guy who's going to be on our list a little bit later here in Stephon Diggs. And Justin Jefferson came in and he had just an incredible season. And my favorite stat comes from PFF. Against single coverage, he led the league in yards per target at 13.2. So this is a guy who, just gets downfield and makes big plays.
This will be a big year for him, though, right? Like, because cat's out of the bag. Not that he was like a complete secret as a first-round pick or anything like that, but
sure.
He's going to get a heck of a lot more attention this year, and it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds, how he reacts.
Yeah. As a reminder, these are all for the year upcoming of 2021. It's not for a full career or where their careers stand right now. It's just what we think we're going to do in a single season.
Not like a fantasy draft, which is why a guy like Julio Jones, we wouldn't be drafting a 33-year-old receiver.
Yeah, this isn't it for fantasy. Like, again, I have to keep teasing for something coming up on why I didn't rate this guy as high, but like some of these guys just won't get you touchdown numbers. We're looking at other things. We're looking at production from various angles here.
And I would also never participate in a fantasy list. I think that I want to make that clear.
Well, we mentioned Julio Jones, and now it's time to go to the other side of that field there. A.J. Brown comes in at number 6. Again, another young guy showing up in our top 10. Only 2 years of service. Both years is over 1,000 yards receiving. I think he is the man to look out for in Tennessee. Julio will still be good, but I think A.J. Brown will be better. And he hasn't even played a full season yet. I think he played 12 games. No, I'm looking at games started. I'm an idiot. Excuse me. Adequate. But I think A.J. Brown, he is tied with Justin Jefferson in PFF grade from last year, 90.4. And yeah.
11 touchdowns, too. Fifth most in the NFL last year. I'll be honest. I haven't watched almost any of A.J. Brown's game. At all. Like, Tennessee is just a team I haven't watched.
Titans, yeah.
Right. And I mean, to be fair, like, Tennessee is a very balanced offense, so, Derrick Henry is obviously the forefront of the attention there. But yeah, I think A.J. Brown is an up-and-comer. I'm eager to watch more of his game because in doing this research, all I'm seeing is like everyone gushing over him, a high PFF grade, 2 very promising seasons to start his career. I'm eager to see what he's got, but I'll be honest, I can't say a lot about his game personally because I haven't seen it.
It almost sounds like the kiss of death because you could have replaced A.J. Brown with Chris Godwin. So hopefully, knock on wood, AJ
Oh,
Brown
man.
stays healthy. But my favorite stat for AJ Brown, generated 2.66 yards per route run in his first 2 years, and that's the highest mark PFF has ever recorded of a wide receiver in their first 2 seasons. Better than Antonio Brown, better than Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. when he came into the league, he's the highest graded wide receiver rookie of all time according to PFF standards. So I mean, you're setting the bar as high as you can, and AJ Brown cleared that. So he's
Hurdled it. Cleared
yeah,
the hurdle.
yeah. So AJ he's the real deal, man. He's gonna be. Don't be surprised if AJ Brown like next year for our list is in like top 3 discussion, and he's not 3.
Whoa.
Hot take. We'll keep that one
Flip it.
stored in the holster. Clip it. Yep. All right. We've done our bottom 5. After the break, we're doing our top 5. Let's recap again. Number 10 is Calvin Ridley, your new number 1 in Atlanta for the Falcons. Number 9 is Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Number 8 is Julio Jones, now of the Tennessee Titans. Number 7, Justin Jefferson of the, I've completely forgotten where he plays. Minnesota Vikings. That's right. Minnesota Vikings. And then another Titan at number 6 of AJ Brown. But who will make our top 5? That's next on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Boom. Okay. Sorry, I'm stumbling a little bit here.
All good. Chat's back. Chat, you're back on the screen if you want to talk.
AJ Brown would already be my top 3 this year. I mean, that's hot. That's hot. I'm trying to think if there's any variance where I'm trying to think.
Who you push? Who's your top 3 then, Joshua? I'm curious. Who are you pushing out of that top 3?
I'm looking because I'm looking where the highest rated for each of these guys. I know Eric had Michael Thomas at 4. And Justin Jefferson was my number 5.
My top 3 are pretty firm. I don't think I would
we
budge
all
on
have
letting
this...
any 3.
Okay, Hamza and Jerry broke on the top 3.
But yeah.
But I think all of our top 3s are pretty much, it's just a matter of where.
Yeah, the order is a little bit different. But yeah, pretty much the entire staff other than 2 people had the exact same top 3 in different orders.
No Lions listed? What the hell? Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, I listed a former Lion.
How did we get to this point? Better put Amon-Ra on this list. Maybe next year.
No. Amon-Ra's never making this list. I'm sorry.
Quintez Cephas.
Don't clip that. Clip that.
Sure, clip it. There's no chance either Quintez Cephas or Amon-Ra St. Brown ever makes this list.
Alien Vivitor, you are wrong. You are wrong.
Ooh, I should add Cat Jam. That's a good one.
Cat Jam is fantastic. I love Cat Jam.
Is it that way? I think it's this way. Well, there it is.
Oh yeah,
it has to be capital.
Capitalize
J,
the jam. Yeah,
there it is.
I love Cat Jam. Such a mood.
Joshua's top 3 are Devonte Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Brown. Interesting. Interesting. All that fantasy talk is making me uncomfortable. I'm sorry, Jameson. It made me uncomfortable too. Don't like it.
It's coming, baby. It's coming.
Nope.
Listen, we're already talking about adding a gambling podcast to our feed. Do not make me add a fantasy one.
Nope, not doing it.
Kenny Golladay made Jeremy's list at number 10. He did not appear on anyone else's list.
Who's that?
Golladay.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and say it. Let's get the guys who are like, again, to recap the guys who didn't make the list. Only one person voted for Kenny Golladay. That was Jeremy. Only one person voted for Keenan Allen. That was me, because of the West Coast bias, I'm sure. One person. What's that?
I was gonna see if I could somehow show the list without giving away the top 5.
You could copy it to like a new.
That's fine.
To a new Excel sheet. Yeah.
Nah.
I'm just listing them off. Only one person. None of us. Who the hell put Amari Cooper on here?
I think it was Hamza.
That was Hamza. Fucking Hamza.
Hamza put him at 6, I think, where no one else had him at all.
No. Amari Cooper is not top 10. I'm sorry, Hamza.
He's not bad though.
Like I wouldn't be upset if somebody had him at
10, 9.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot I really wanted to
Again,
put on
DK Metcalf, 3 people voted for DK Metcalf. He didn't make the list. And then 3 people voted for Chris Godwin, and they didn't make the list. And 2 people voted for
Reddit.
Mike Evans. And Mike Evans shows up at 11 because Jerry puts him at number 5.
There were 3 guys I really wanted to put on this list because I like them a lot, and I think they have a chance to be superstars. One I mentioned before is Terry McLaurin, but I didn't put him on my list. Keenan Allen was another one. And then Tyler Lockett. I love me some Tyler Lockett. I think he's a fantastic receiver who he's underappreciated, but he's probably not a top 10 receiver.
What do you guys... I was really struggling with this one because I know PFF graded him really highly. What do you guys think of Jarvis Landry? Because there's some weird PFF grades, right? Because like Will Fuller made them. It was like their 9th graded receiver.
Yeah,
I don't
but he
understand
also... But I think he didn't play a full season because he got suspended.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
So...
But I didn't know what to do with Landry. I wasn't going to put him in my top 10, but I was always curious, like, which one of my guys are like my last man out.
You know who's the guy who's going to bounce back big time this year?
Who's that?
Going to be Odell Beckham Jr. He'll be on all of our lists next year.
I could see that.
Ooh, wow, okay. I was thinking about bringing him up when you'd mentioned his name during the podcast.
Yeah.
Only kind of ironically because I think I've already seen like the classic off season he's in the best shape of his life thing with him.
His career.
How old is he now?
That. When I was
he's still
big
probably
on,
in his
when I was a lot
20s?
bigger on baseball, I would love that all that talk
like,
of best shape.
He's
of life.
young. He's probably like
He's 28.
His career has changed pretty quickly. Yeah, I was gonna say like.
I mean, when you miss more than half the games in 2 of your last 4 seasons, like people are just gonna lose faith in you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he hasn't had over.
Odell Beckham Jr. is like one of the first athletes I can remember where it's like I've seen his entire, like I know he's great, and at the same time I've seen his entire career so far.
I don't know if we're ever gonna see. I mean, maybe we have already, but like his first 3 years in the league were electric, fantastic.
I mean,
like, nothing like it.
And that's why I brought up that stat about AJ Brown.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you're doing things like, if you're eclipsing Odell Beckham Jr. records in your first 3 years.
But it's how he was catching footballs too. Like we turned him into a verb at one point. That you just Odell that ball. Like you caught it like Odell.
Well,
like
I think part of it was just like he could do it in so many ways. He could make the ridiculous one-handed grab, moss people, but he could also just like take a slant that looks like it should gain 5 yards and take it for 85. Mm-hmm. And that I think that's the part that worries me is I don't know if he'll ever get that back.
Yeah, that's fair.
A fair reservation to have.
What about T. Higgins, T.Y.? None of those guys made it on the list. Nope.
T.Y. Hilton's weird. I feel like every year we're waiting for T.Y. Hilton to be it, and I feel like it's doors closed.
Yeah, he's 32, almost 31. Nah, T.Y.'s not
Carson
close.
Wentz Carson Wentz throwing to him now.
That's not supposed to matter, Chris.
I know. But I feel as I said, if you're a great receiver, it doesn't matter who your quarterback is.
True.
I don't think T.Y. is a great receiver, so it matters who his quarterback is.
I think it'll eventually get out that you're a really good receiver, but your stats might not be where they could be. Because of...
Chris, I like what the Colts are doing with Pittman. Listen, man, I'm not breaking kayfabe on the Colts.
You're committed just because they got mad at you.
I'm a radio guy. I'm a radio guy. Of course I'm committed to the bit. I'm ready to cash that check this season. I am gonna hold by my prediction on what's gonna happen with the Colts. They looked at this great roster that they supposedly put together. They looked at all these pieces, took a great deep breath, and said, Carson Wentz is the man who will lead us to the promised land.
Yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, we want to jump right back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've got more than enough from scraps from our first segment.
Yeah, we scrapped it up in the
Holy
first
fuck.
segment.
Even some stuff here too. Like I think some of this will make it in.
No Jamar Chase. Too early for a rookie.
Well, I mean,
especially when you should have just taken Penei Sewell, right? Like,
I think rookies don't make list casts. They just don't.
They don't. Let's see what happens when we get to
tight ends.
Oh my god.
Number 1.
Well, that's okay. I'll give you that on tight ends, just because I think we hit the tight end pot list cast every year, and we say, God, tight end is like it's really shallow when it comes to like the great tight ends.
Right. So you just end up having to grab a guy who's got a torn ACL, throw him on your list.
I remember I put Hockenson on my tight end list last year, and it was controversial.
Yeah.
And all I have to say is, pew.
Todd. Pew, 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 pew.
Oh,
all right,
Jesse Plemons. Yeah, I'm right.
You say Plemons, I say Plemons.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Hold the whole thing off.
Let's not.
Top 5. Let's go.
Yep. There isn't even much variation on the year to year in the LISTCAST in the tight ends LISTCAST. I mean, Gronk's no longer on it.
Are you sure?
If you're still putting Gronk on your tight end list, I have
he
questions.
might have been on my list last year.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't really remember, but I feel like he might have been.
Yeah, it's just so rough, man. I mean, that's why I don't worry about these too much, because like NFL, an injury can derail that season like so quickly, right?
Also, we don't put these into print, so it's really hard for people to cash the receipts.
Yeah, that's by design. That's by design. Although now apparently people will have screen caps from our Twitch streams.
They could. We don't get as many clips as I kind of wanted or hoped. Maybe we should have a clips part in our Discord where people just post clips of our show.
Well, that is a great idea. Maybe a reward if I get enough people clipping certain things, like, or like a special role as like clip master.
How about like the most watched clip every month gets something?
Ooh, I like that. Chamberlain.
We will make you make content for us.
Chamberlain. Oh God, that reminds me of that. I think I shared it in the Slack the other day, that like clip that was making the rounds from Muppets movie with Frank Oz and Jim Henson just giving their puppets midlife crises.
I don't think I did.
You're not a real bear. You're not a real bear. You don't have bones. All right. Nitro gift would be a great idea, actually. Nitro gift would be a great idea.
I don't even know what that is, but maybe.
That's basically it's like a sub, but it's for Discord.
Oh.
I have it for the year. It's how we've boosted our server to 1.
That's right.
But also you get to use, when you have Nitro, you get to use emotes from other servers you're on any other server. So it's a nice little perk to have.
We'd probably have to have a non-Discord user option as well, but because someone could clip us and not.
Well, I would imagine you're going to submit it on Discord.
True.
Anyway, let's go. We're continuing our LISTCAST here for wide receivers for the NFL upcoming season in 2021. We've done our bottom 5 and our honorable mentions, and we move on now to the top 5. To recap, however, real quick, honorable mentions for guys who received votes but did not make it: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, and Kenny Galladay. Now let's remind you where we're at. Number 10 was Calvin Ridley. Number 9 was Michael Thomas. 8 was Julio Jones. 7, Justin Jefferson. Excuse me, I'm stumbling over my tongue at that. Number 8 is A.J. Brown. And now, number 5, Allen Robinson of the Bears. I think I teased earlier that I said that the point of LISTCAST is independent of scheme, current weapons, coaching, and especially for wide receivers, quarterbacks who are throwing to you. Allen Robinson has proven that it doesn't matter the quality of the quarterback that throws to him, because he has had some god-awful quarterbacks throwing to him between Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, and he is still balling.
Blake Bortles.
I forgot completely about Blake Bortles.
Yeah. I mean, the poor man has, and maybe, hopefully he still doesn't have a quarterback. No offense to the Chicago Bears.
Knock on wood.
But yeah, I mean, I'm almost frustrated for him, given that, he doesn't have these 1,400, 1,500 yard seasons where he's putting up double-digit touchdowns, except for once in his career. 2015, he had literally 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. Hasn't had a season anywhere close to that since. But, I mean, he's still putting up 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards, doing a good job, and just looking studly. Like, the dude can catch. He has one of the craziest catch radiuses in the NFL. And if he can just get a quarterback that can put it somewhere near him, so that if he runs to the left, a quarterback can throw it to the left. And maybe that guy is Justin Fields. We'll see. But man, I feel bad for the guy. He deserves better than Chicago. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and Chris's favorite stat, right? In 2020, he posted a 1% drop rate that ranked third amongst receivers with at least 100+ targets. So, I mean, and also tied for the most contested catches with 21 in the league. So he had to earn every single one of those receptions. And Allen Robinson, really good. Really, really worried about him and Justin Fields. I'm really concerned about that.
I think.
Let's just hope that he gets ever more disgruntled by Chicago just sucking overall by the time Justin Fields gets good. And then they won't be together.
I feel like you slap a guy with a franchise tag. I know it's not the curse I think we make it out to be sometimes, because like, oh my God, they just hit me with a ton of money with the franchise tag. How ungrateful. But at the same time, like, he could be going anywhere right now. He could be going anywhere and people would see the value in him.
Yep.
PFF agrees with us. Allen Robinson was their 5th rated receiver last year at an 88.3 offensive grade. We move on now to number 4 on our list. This is where we're starting to get into the calcified part of where we know the greats are, and it's just a matter of where we're placing them. Number 4 on our list is Tyrique Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs. Jeremy is making a face because I think he wants me to defend something.
No, well, I messed something up on the stream, but yeah, I mean, you had him 9th on your list. Everyone else had him basically 6th.
Excuse me, I had him 10th.
You had 10th. I'm sorry, you did. You have him 10th on the list. Everyone else had him,
yeah,
I think 6th or higher. And I mean, he's a unique guy, right? He's not like any of these other the guys that tend to be on the top of this list are the tall contested catches guys that are also extremely fast. Tyrique Hill is just an absolute freak when it comes to his speed, and it makes him unguardable. It makes him a nightmare for defenses. And at some point, that's probably going to run out, when he hits a certain age. But dude is still only 27. The dude put up 15 touchdowns, 1,200 yards last year. He's so unique in that you have a field of the best athletes in the world, and he still stands well above them in terms of his speed and his agility and all that stuff. And it's just, I don't like using this term for people, but he's a freak in terms of he's unmatched by anyone on the field, and that's just crazy to think about when there's so many athletes in this league.
He is a freak, but at the same time, like, I look at hands. I look at being a surefire guy. I don't like drops anymore. And he came in 14th on PFF last year, which I don't know. I started to examine him a little bit closer, and I feel like he is an athletic freak. There is a lot of his form that I feel like it's a crowded list. And I feel like as good as Tyrique Hill is, he's not top 5 for me. It's just, there's other guys I think I had Allen Robinson as my number 4. And I just think there's other guys who are coming up that can do what Tyrique Hill does, but can also do it with more sure hands.
I guess that's the part I would push back on. I don't think there is anyone that can. That's why Tyrique Hill is so unique to me. He might not have the well-rounded game of, the contested catch, but he's so unique in his speed talent that it it makes him a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go so far as to say I remember PFF got memed all oblivion when they tried to say that he was the best deep threat in the history of the NFL. I'm not
But you
willing
only
to.
you only had him at 7, Ryan.
Yeah, and I mean, I had him at 7 because I'm not calling him a one-trick pony by any means, but I think that in terms of my flavor of wide receiver, there are just guys that I prefer. Um, and we mentioned kind of like some of our personal criteria that we have for putting this list together. But I think when it comes to Tyreek Hill, like he is incredibly unique, like Jeremy said. I don't think that there's anybody else in the league that can really do what he does. I mean, remember when John Ross came on the scene? Everybody was like, "Oh man, blazing speed! This guy's going to be injuries." Like if you're that fast, like injuries catch up to you, and that's the one thing about Tyreek Hill is that like injuries haven't caught up to him, so he's really freakish in that from that standpoint. But yeah, he was 7th on my list, but I think I don't know, like you get into the top 10 and like you're already splitting hairs.
Yep.
So
Right,
like
right.
right now he's at a position, number 4 on our list where like I mean, he could just as easily be 4, he could just as easily be 3, he could be 6. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's all just wild variance.
Yep. However, there is no variance as we get into our top 3 where we all have the same top 3. I mean, I'm looking at our own personal lists here. We all have the same top 3. All of us, I think, had them in different positions too. But we're going to start with number 3 here. We are in the top 3. Mentioned the Vikings earlier. This man is no longer a Viking, and thank God for that. Stephon Diggs out of Buffalo comes in at number 3. I had him, I think, as my number 2 man. That's just how much I believe in him, but I don't have any more words to explain just how good Stephon Diggs is. He had his most single season yards last year, and there's no sign that he's going to be slowing down short of injury. And what makes him so good for me, again, I just said how much I like catch percentage, how much I like sure hands. 76.5% catch percentage last year. Like I don't know, while doing over a step back from versus 2019 when I think his yards per reception, Jeremy, was close to like 18, but
Ridiculous.
still just
I mean,
18,
insane. 18 is a ridiculous number, and
yeah, ridiculous.
I think Buffalo really unlocked his full potential in a way that Minnesota never did, and maybe it was because he was kind of splitting the stage with Adam Thielen in Minnesota. But the thing that I look for when I'm creating this list is guys that are pure mismatches, guys that have the ability to just completely take over games.
A guy who you're just looking at is like you're thinking of that coaching staff that week before. It's like, this guy's a problem.
Yeah, he's a huge problem. And you look at Stephon Diggs' 2020 season, and it's just ridiculous. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 16 games he went over 100 yards. All games but one, he had at least 6 catches. So this guy is consistent week in, week out. And I think a lot of people thought maybe he wasn't consistent because, there was some talk about his an attitude problem and things like that and him being a diva. But he found whatever works in Buffalo, whether it's, his relationship with Josh Allen or whatever. I don't know. Like I remember clowning him a little bit and saying like, "Oh, you don't like Kirk Cousins? Wait until you see Josh Allen." Well, I was wrong, and they found something special together, and he's just I think we all knew the talent was there in Minnesota, and we always weren't sure whether it was him or Adam Thielen that was the true number 1, but I think those that really watched the games knew it was Stephon Diggs, and he had the potential to have this kind of season. Now that he's the showcase in Buffalo, this dude's arguably, I mean, you could put him anywhere in the top 3, and I don't think you'd get a lot of pushback.
Yeah, I kept on moving. When I made my first draft of this list, I had Stephon Diggs like in like I think like either like 7 or 8 spot, and then he just steadily kept on moving up my list as I kept on revising it because Jeremy already mentioned it, but Stephon Diggs has unlocked Josh Allen. Like it's not the other way around. Like I understand that it's kind of they're mutually benefiting from this, but like You're talking about a guy who was a 52% completion percentage in his first year, 58% his second year. Josh Allen, that's like below league average. And then last year he's 69.2. I mean, an 11% jump
Nice.
in 1 year. Well, Stephon Diggs showed up and started catching all those contested, balls that Josh Allen's throwing up. Stephon Diggs is coming down with all of them. So it's interesting that, Stephon Diggs goes from being like a really good player in Minnesota to being like an elite. He belongs here at number 3 without a doubt.
For sure. Yeah, it's just I'm glad he's not in the division anymore. Let's just say that. Can't say that about our number 2 guy, Devonte Adams of the Green Bay Packers. Jerry and Eric, who are both not on this podcast, had him as number 1. But for everyone else, he was number 2. I had Diggs at number 2, but Adams was my 3rd. I don't know what else to say about Devonte Adams. He was your highest rated PFF grade last year at 92. He's damn good, and I wish he wasn't, because it means the Lions have to see him every year. 18 touchdowns last year, 98 yards per game, career highs, 77% catch rate. We just talked about it. He's a problem.
Yeah,
he's a real problem, and he's come into his own.
Yeah, and those last 2 stats you said, that the 18 touchdowns and the 98 yards per game, those are both NFL highs last year. So
yeah.
If he would have played all 16 games, he theoretically would have been the yardage leader as well. But yeah, I mean, all I think about when I think of Devonte Adams is listening to Darius Slay talk about Devonte Adams and how unguardable he is right off the snap. The dude's release is ridiculous, and when you're getting that sort of praise from a guy like Darius Slay, and he certainly isn't alone in cornerbacks praising a guy like Devonte Adams, he's really, really good. And we've known for years that he's really, really good. And, Green Bay had their issues with their offense in the past, and I know there are probably a lot of Lions fans that think, well, he's throwing Aaron Rodgers. Is he actually that good? He is. There's no question about it.
Even if it's just Jordan Love throwing to him, maybe the production goes down a little bit, but you're still like with Allen Robinson.
Yeah,
Adams will show you why he's a good receiver, regardless of who's throwing to him.
Yep. But that's why he's number 2 on my list and not number 1.
Because of the potential of Love.
I think
independent. We're supposed to do it independent, but I mean, that is part of it.
Absolutely. I think with Devonte Adams, again, we're splitting hairs about whether the guy at number 1 belongs at number 2 and whether the guy at number 2 belongs at number 1. Devonte Adams, I agree with Jeremy. Like, are you going to find anybody who's better off the line of scrimmage than Devonte Adams? I don't know. Probably not. Are you going to be able to find a guy who is as reliable as he is? Maybe not. But I don't know. I think there's one guy that's above him.
And that is our number 1 Nook himself, Arizona Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins. A dead heat, but yeah, all 3 of us on this podcast, plus Hamza Bakush and John Whitaker, all have him at number 1. I don't know what else to like. If you don't know Hopkins by now, it's Hopkins. Like the pièce de résistance was catching that Hail Mary last year. Like,
God, I forgot about it. Was that only last year?
Yeah, that was last year. That was last year. That Hail Mary. But we've always known Hopkins is fantastic. We've all known that, and he had 1,400 yards his first year, finally with an actual quarterback throwing to him. And he's 29, and yet I feel like we haven't even seen the full potential yet. Like, I feel like with a quarterback now in his second year, with him more comfortable in Arizona, sky's the limit for DeAndre Hopkins. And that's why I put him number 1 for the upcoming year of 2021.
Yeah, for me, I mean, if you look at everyone else on this list, there are some questions. Like Devonte Adams, he's had some injuries that he's had to fight through. Stephon Diggs, again, we're probably splitting hairs a bit here, but like he's only had 1 good year in Buffalo. Will he continue? Maybe get more attention? Point being, DeAndre Hopkins is the most proven guy on this list who has not shown any sign of decline. The dude has gone over 1,500 yards twice. He's gone over 1,400 yards 3 times. He's been to the Pro Bowl 4 straight years, 5 out of the last 6. He's been an All-Pro 3 out of the past 4 years. This guy is proven. This guy has been a top 3 receiver for the past 4 or 5 years. And like I said, no signs of slowing. Now he's under a new quarterback and should be even playing even better. The dude is just a highlight reel machine. And it's not just that. It's not just making highlight reel. Like, he's bringing it every week. He's making the routine catches. He's making yards after the catch. He literally does everything. And he does the highlight stuff, which is also really fun from watching from afar. So this wasn't that close for me. I think DeAndre Hopkins is still clearly the number 1 receiver in this league.
Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, Tom Savage, Brock Osweiler. The list of quarterbacks that DeAndre Hopkins had to deal with in Houston.
Yeah, I know I forgot Watson on there. I know I forgot Watson on there, damn. But, I mean, still.
Yeah,
like, to your point.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So, like, in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, this is something I saw Robert Mays, talk about, and some other people, but it's this offense where there's a ton of wide receiver screens. So like he got a lot of catches that were like right at the line of scrimmage, but he tied the season leader for most broken tackles at the position with 21. But just the most insane stat. Like, this is just DeAndre Hopkins to a T. 14 catches within a yard of the sideline in 2020. Most in the NFL, extending his lead in that metric since entering the league to 26. He has 71 total. 71 catches within a yard of the sideline. A 0.9% drop rate. Lowest mark among those with at least 100 targets in 2020. Dude, DeAndre Hopkins is really freaking good. And because he doesn't feel like he's in Calvin Johnson air. It doesn't feel like he's in Julio Jones air. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like DeAndre Hopkins gets that same rub.
I have a theory. For that.
What's that?
Houston.
Maybe.
No one cares about Houston. Nobody effing cares about Houston.
No one cares about Detroit, right? Like,
yeah, but like,
I think part of it is just like Calvin. Yeah. I don't feel like Calvin had a lot of competition. Like, I think we're in a really good era of wide receivers right now, and maybe DeAndre Hopkins gets a little bit lost in the scuffle there. Calvin Johnson, he wasn't, the receiving leader every year, but like, it was clear he was a ridiculous talent in terms of just like his physical attributes and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. That is a really good point. I mean, if DeAndre Hopkins were to retire in training camp, I'd probably call him a Hall of Famer still.
Has to be.
Yeah. No, I think he is. Like, and I think we all agree for 2021, short of injury, he's going to just ball the bleep out.
I also want to go back to your point about the quarterbacks, because I wanted to jump in. One of his best seasons, 1,500 yards. His quarterbacks were, for 11 games, Brian Hoyer, for 4 games, Brian Mallett, for 2 games, TJ Yates, and for 1 game, Brandon Weeden. What? What? And he turned that into 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Oh my God.
What?
Like, just psychotic stuff, man. Yeah. I know. I think it is worth asking if it is an upgrade or a downgrade if between him and Watson. I think it's an upgrade going from Watson, but I also don't think as highly of Watson as maybe some other people. I think we've turned Watson into a bit of a unicorn there. But again, I don't need to look at the quarterback when it comes to Nook. I don't need to look at the quarterback. The guy is fantastic.
Yeah, and also one of the most underrated moves of the offseason, I think, was, and I know this isn't really dependent upon our list, but like the Cardinals getting AJ Green, like AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to be quite the duo.
That will be. So that is our top 10. Do we need to refresh it again?
Sure, we'll reset it one time for the people
Number
that
10.
Somehow listen to the end of the podcast first.
I need a big voice. I need a big voice to go like number 10. Number 10, Calvin Ridley. Number 9, Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints, Calvin Ridley from the Falcons. Number 8, Julio Jones, Tennessee Titans. Number 7, Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. Number 6, A.J. Brown, Tennessee Titans. Number 5, Allen Robinson, the Chicago Bears. Number 4, Tyreek Hill, Kansas City Chiefs. I'm losing my voice. Number 3, Stephon Diggs, Buffalo Bills. Did I say A.J. Brown wrong?
No, you're fine.
I didn't. Okay. Twitch chat threw me off. Number 2, Devonte Adams. Cheeseheads. Screw them. Number 1, DeAndre Hopkins. Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I didn't.
That is our first list.
I didn't think you were going to commit to that bit all the way through. I'm impressed. I'm proud of you.
I always commit.
I love going back to explain number 10, Calvin Ridley belongs to the Atlanta Falcons after you made the decision at number 9 to start listing team names.
Which chat is saying I accidentally said number 3 for A.J. Brown?
Well,
probably because...
Yeah. 6,
nobody's perfect.
6 is divisible by 3, so technically you're right.
Yeah, it is. It's a power.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. We done?
Can we all, really quick, can we say, like, how much it sucks to have a bunch of really good receivers in the NFC North?
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
But we got the best corner, so.
Do we?
Jeff Okudah, we trust, baby! Top 10 cornerback.
I thought I had to break the news to Jeremy that Darius Slay no longer plays on this team.
Yeah.
He's washed anyways.
Oh, wow. Listen to you.
Oh.
Wow. He's taking his victory lap. All right, we're out of here. Download the podcast, listen, and by all means, we love all of you. LISTCAST continues next week. What do we have up next week for LISTCAST, Jeremy?
That's a great question that I was not prepared for the answer.
Edge rushers.
Edge rushers.
Edge defenders. That's right. We're going to do edge defenders, then running backs, then cornerbacks, then tight ends, and then we bookended, adequate, quarterbacks. We save the best for last. We save the scub for the last one because that's what we do. That's what we are. We are Pride of Detroit. I'm Chris Perfett. He's Jeremy Reisman. That's Ryan Matthews. And as always, we'll see you Starside.